I'm the Executive Director of ASTRA, the Alliance for Science and Technology Research in America. I'm here to tell you a little bit about ASTRA, about our Congressional Visits Day and STEM on the Hill, and our mission. ASTRA was founded 20 years ago by a group of organizations in the science and engineering community, primarily to ensure that we have adequate funding of research and development monies through the various federal agencies. And part of ASTRA's mission in that space of time was to develop innovation capacity in our country. ASTRA is comprised of nearly 157 organizations, which are global in nature. It has more than 68,000 friends across the globe, and we have a very important website, usinnovation.org. ASTRA for many years was trying to develop the innovation capacity by developing facts-based advocacy programs. ASTRA conducts briefings for members of Congress and the staff, for the general public. It does many fact sheets. It does lots of data analysis of state economies, innovation, and of the science, technology, and mathematics workforce, which we call STEM. Science, engineering, technology, and mathematics, STEM. So we do lots of things to try to bring together our communities to know what the facts are and to have effective advocacy.
Thank you, Bob. It is a pleasure to greet everyone, and it's been a pleasure to work with you and the ASTRA board because we share passion and commitment to cultivating that innovation capacity, recognizing that in America, if we do not innovate, we will abdicate our leadership edge. We also share a recognition that the hope of the future is in the youth. And so it's been a special joy for me to mobilize global NetGeneration of youth and have them engaged as ambassadors of ASTRA, their community, and work as cyberjournalists and link to the civic activities that ASTRA and its partners convene and conduct. In the last few years, the global NetGeneration of youth has had teams of youth inspired by the activities of STEM on the Hill. We've had, over the last 3 years, over 500 youth attend the program, youth from middle school and high schools across America. This year, we've had 5 teams come and be very excited to work with the professional videographers, Color of STEM. So what the youth do is they come and act as cyberjournalists and get to listen to, learn about the ecosystem, the participants who are committed to STEM, both research and development, and also STEM education. We must build those pathways and pipelines and create the next generation of entrepreneurs, innovators, technologists, scientists, mathematicians, aviators, astronauts, etc. This year, we did a special program. Not only did we have the NetGeneration of youth involved interviewing and taking pictures and videotaping, but also serving as apprentices to the professional videographers who share the commitment to building that capacity on the ecosystem of STEM. Color of STEM, we thank you. And what you're going to see following are select interviews conducted by various NetGeneration of youth ambassadors working with Color of STEM to explore the backgrounds and passions of the participants, why they came to Color of STEM, and what messages they have for the youth of America. I thank you all. I hope you enjoy and join us in our quest to build America's innovation capacity. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Meryl Gurma, and I'm from Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and I'm here on behalf of the next generation of youth. Who are you, and what have you done for the organizations you're currently representing?
Well, I'm Gary Peters. I'm the U.S. Senator from Michigan, and it's good to be here. We're talking about the American Innovation Act that I worked on with my colleague from Colorado, Cory Gardner, to really advance science policy in this country to make sure that we're investing in basic research, as well as making sure that resources are available for the next generation in STEM education.
And why are you here at this event today?
Well, I was the proud beneficiary of an honor for the work that we had done together, both Senator Gardner and I, to pass the American Competes Act.
And this video will be shown across the country, and I was wondering, what message do you have for the youth of America today?
Well, I think today we're celebrating STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, that this is an important area. This is an opportunity for students to get good jobs, good paying jobs, also very interesting jobs. And if you are curious about the world and love science, these are areas that folks should pursue. In fact, as I travel around my state, there are a lot of jobs opening for people that have that kind of background. And so I would encourage everybody to look at these kinds of programs and study hard, and I know that they'll have a very successful future and a career.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zachary Crawford, a CyberNet youth journalist.
Hi, Zachary. My name is Chris Trent. I am with the U.S. Geological Survey. We're a science agency for the Department of the Interior.
And what brought you here today?
So, the U.S. Geological Survey does earth science around the country and around the world. And we can't do that earth science without the next generation of earth scientists. Today, we're talking about the 3D elevation program, or 3DEP, which is a program that we've initiated in order to collect high-resolution elevation data across the country. So far, we're about a quarter of the way done, but our goal is to have the entire country collected in a few years. To make that possible, we're going to need a lot of engineers to pull that off.
And so, why should Congress help you or invest with your ideas?
Well, as a federal agency, of course, the U.S. Geological Survey receives a lot of funding from Congress through the appropriations process, and we appreciate all of the effort that Congress puts into making sure that our science is possible. With regards to the 3D elevation program, I think really the way Congress should think about it is that this is a piece of infrastructure that is important in the future. In much the same way that we built highways across the country, we built national parks all across the West to conserve resources and create tourism opportunities. I think the collection of elevation data that the USGS is attempting to do is one of the most important infrastructure projects that this country is pursuing.
And what will be the future of this? Because we talked a little earlier, you said it's only in a local area. Mm-hmm. You're trying to expand it across the United States?
Right, so right now, a lot of the data has been collected across the country, but it hasn't been collected everywhere, and there's still a lot of gaps. One of the challenges, of course, is that data that's in a patchwork isn't necessarily as useful as if you have data across the whole country. So you can imagine if the interstate highways had a lot of gaps in it, it wouldn't be a very good highway if it didn't connect all the way from one end of the country to the other. And so that's really our vision of what we want to be able to do someday.
And we talked about how you collected the data. You use planes and then you send rays down and they bounce back. How exactly does that work?
Right. So the way that we collect this high resolution elevation data is with a technology called LiDAR. And LiDAR is essentially the same thing as radar, but with lasers instead of sound. We use LiDAR to collect that elevation data from airplanes. And we don't actually fly the airplanes, and we rely on a lot of private sector partners who do excellent work. So the process of collecting this data across the country is really made possible by our private sector partners.
And what made you choose this as your career field?
You know, I've worked in Washington for about 10 years, and I'm fascinated by the work that the USGS does. The U.S. Geological Survey is a nonpartisan organization. We don't have any regulatory responsibilities, so we don't regulate oil and gas or grazing rights. But we provide the science to the public, and we provide the science to other government agencies to help them make better decisions. And I think that's a big part of why the USGS took on the 3D elevation program. It really is our core mission to collect and provide the best earth science data that we can and make sure that that data is available to the public.
And earlier we talked about expanding it across the United States. Why exactly is that important?
So, as we mentioned earlier, data is only valuable if it's available broadly. This data is particularly useful for a lot of different applications, including estimating the likelihood of landslides or improving agricultural productivity. Having that data available to the public everywhere in the country means that everybody has access to that benefit. A few years ago, there was a tragedy in Washington State where a landslide actually killed quite a few people, and that's a good example of the kinds of hazards that having better data available to everyone across the country can help to mitigate. And that's really our vision, is to make sure that everyone in the country has access to that data and to empower them to use that data to make their community safer and more productive.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Zachary, I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
That's great.
So tell us a little about yourself.
Well, my background, I come out of industry, retired now from industry. My background is in electronic warfare systems for Navy aircraft. I've had a dual career. I used to teach in one university in the evenings. Since retiring 6.5 years ago, I've now signed on and I teach in 3 universities. One of them is one of our military academies, and I've been teaching all 3 of them simultaneously. I run around back and forth between them during the day. Keep that, plus of course my IEEE work, keeps me off the streets. I'm the past president, the 2016 president of IEEE-USA, the US arm of the global organization IEEE. IEEE itself has about 430,000 members worldwide. IEEE-USA, the US arm, we have about 200,000 members here in the United States.
So from talking before with you, I understand that you've been to this event many times in the past. So,
Yes.
please tell me why you're here today at this event.
Okay, it's really an easy answer, or an easy question to answer. Members of the House and the Senate, our federal representatives, our federal employees, they work for us. We have to tell them what's important to us, why it's important to us, what they do affects not just us, but the rest of Americans. Can't expect them to respond the way we'd like all the time.
Right.
But if you don't tell them what we want and why we want it and explain to them the importance, anything they do is luck.
Exactly.
Recognize the fact that they're very interested, of course, in representing their constituency so that they'll be reelected. But we have to bring the message of how what they do affects those constituents that put them here in the first place. Whether they're in the House or the Senate is irrelevant. And it's actually interesting. I think it's rewarding. Sometimes they actually do what we want.
Right.
There's some things pending that I can't talk about right now. That is something we've been working on for quite a long time that will have a major effect, positive effect on U.S. industry if it goes through. And it's something that we've, in the ideas that we've instilled in them and demonstrated to them the importance to the American public. It's critical. If you don't let them know, as I said before, it's luck as to what they're going to do and how they're going to act. So, and I love it. I think it's a lot of, preparing is a lot of work, but it's actually fun, and you get responses. I've gotten calls from members of Congress, both sides, House and Senate, asking for help getting bills through Congress, looking for data, looking for information. They know us, they know who we are, they know the message, they know how we can help them, and we do. And I think that's part of being a good citizen, is being involved in the process.
Right. Can you please introduce yourself and the organization that you're with?
Yeah, my name is Patty Hester, and I'm with the National Student Leadership Conference. I'm our Director of Operations at UC Berkeley, and I also run our scholarship program.
So what brings you here?
So we partner with NGY Scholars to bring students to our program each summer, and in addition we have programs in 21 academic areas, including all of the STEM fields at 11 universities during the summer. And so I'm here today to represent us and also partner with NGY here on the Hill.
Can you name a few of the universities that you have programs with?
Definitely. So we partner, probably our biggest university is American University here in DC, as well as Georgetown. We also partner with Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Rice University, UC Berkeley, Yale, and Harvard.
So do you have any advice for my generation that can help them moving forward?
Definitely. So I was actually a student of our programs when I was 15, and I think the best advice is just to explore fields you're interested in and to really work on your leadership skills as well as your academic field, because that might change a dozen times before you're done with school. So as long as you're exploring things you're interested in and working on skills that can carry you forward no matter where you go, I think you're going to be really set up for success as you move into college and then into your field as well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.